adlaw kaniyong tanan. How are you all doing now? Kumusta na ang inyong homeschool? Nag-e-enjoy na ba? Are you getting the hang of it? I hope you are starting to get the hang of the new normal. Sana nakaka-adjust na tayo, no, sa bagong setup natin. And I hope you are enjoying the time with your kids at this point. Right now, I'd like to share with you a bit about how to choose materials. Napansin ko kasi na ang dami ngayong nag-offer ng mga free materials online, ang daming mga classes, ang daming mga resources, and all of them are really amazing. Sometimes nakaka-overwhelm, di ba? It's amazing to think that although this is a crisis situation, may mga blessings tayong natatanggap. May mga nakikita tayong magagandang bagay. There are still a lot of good things coming out of the situation. And somehow there are still things that we could be thankful for. And one of those na nga is the privilege of educating our own children, the opportunity to choose learning materials, and that there are so many out there right now that's free. So before I tell you ano yung mga dapat yung i-consider in choosing the materials that you can use for your child, I'd like to encourage you to revisit your purpose and your philosophy for educating your child. No, when you talk about your purpose, what is the reason why you sent your children to school in the first place? When you talk about the philosophy of education, we're talking about when can we say that our children have learned something? Okay, and I'm sure the reason why you chose the school that you have placed your children into is because you agree with the philosophy of education of that school. So now that you're homeschooling, that is also something you need to think about. Now that you're the primary teacher, why do you still want to educate your kids? And when can you say that your children has really learned something? So, bakit kailangan malaman natin yung purpose and philosophy? Why do we need to take that into consideration? Because that is where all your choices will be anchored on. So, that's important for you to know. So, what do you need to consider for you to choose the appropriate materials for your child? Okay, merong mga kailangan tignan. Unang-una, curriculum, right? So think about your curriculum. What is your child's school curriculum? Maybe if you're not sure about it, you can take a look at the materials that your child's teacher has sent you. Or if you still have the prospectus of the school, or yung go to the website of the school, and your school would most definitely have an explanation about their philosophy of education and then the corresponding curriculum. Kung homeschooler ka naman, ano yung curriculum na ginagamit mo? Are you DepEd aligned? No? So, based on your curriculum, you can choose your materials. So, depends on where you are in your curriculum. So you yourself know where you are at the curriculum, and if your child was in the regular school, you check where they are now in the curriculum. Definitely the teachers would have given you pointers, and so check that. So where the child is right now in the curriculum, that should be the first basis of choosing materials. Okay, do not get those materials yet that are not in that place in the curriculum, no? Kasi mangyayari niyan, you keep getting resources, you keep downloading, you just end up cluttering your homeschool and cluttering your mind and cluttering your computer, no? So instead of jumping into every free online material, review the curriculum of your child first. In so doing, you will be wise as to which material to get and which online class to choose for your child. The second thing to consider is the cultural context. Okay, there are many online resources. There are many online classes available now. But you need to also think in terms of whether all these things are culturally relevant to your context, no? Yun bang klase na to will help reinforce what your child already knows based on his experience living in this country, or may introduce ba siya to something alien to him because it's from a different context. An example would be if the lesson is on money denominations, and the lesson examples would be dime, penny, nickel. It's not relevant to us kasi ang sa atin, piso, 5 or 25, 50 sentimo, ganyan. So, you need to check whether the material is relevant to your present context. Sa science naman, nakakalungkot na yung mga anak natin, mas alam pa nila or mas kilala nila yung mga animals and plants abroad. And then we don't know what are endemic to the Philippines. And we have so many beautiful flora and fauna that hopefully at this time of quarantine, it will be a great opportunity for our children to get to know. Ang dami ding resources online for us to get to know our Philippine birds and fish and plants. I'm sure if you do your research, you would be able to access them. If you really like the material you find, talagang maganda siya. It's really appropriate for your child, aligned naman sa curriculum nyo. Yun nga lang, may konting kakaiba because galing siya sa ibang bansa or it comes from another country, therefore it's showcasing a different culture. The key there is contextualization. You contextualize the material so that your child can still use it, can still appropriate it to our scenario, yung kasalukuyang pinalalagyan natin dito sa Pilipinas or wherever you are na bansa, so that hindi din alienated yung anak nyo dun sa present scenario niya. So choosing material that is culturally appropriate reinforces a child's cultural identity and love for country. Ito ay napakahalaga para sa pagbuo ng pagkatao ng isang bata, no? Ang kultura po kasi, yung pagmamahal natin sa sariling kultura natin, isa siyang pundasyon para sa pagkatao, paghubog ng pagkatao natin. So it will be great for us to also choose materials that will enhance, strengthen the cultural identity of our children, so that they have a stable foundation for their personhood. Third, make sure that the material that you choose will enhance the 4 21st century skills that the Department of Education is pushing in our educational system. So sa ngayon, apat na letter C, no? First, critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration. So tignan nyo yung materials that you are using. Are they able to facilitate critical thinking in your kids? Lumalabas ba yung pagkamalikhain ng ating mga anak? Are they becoming creative as they use that material? Will they be able to communicate, express themselves using that material? Will they also learn how to listen to others as others aim to communicate, seek to communicate to them? Will they also be inspired to collaborate? So even if we are quarantined at home, you could still provide opportunities for collaboration for your children. They can work together to accomplish a chore or to work on a project. They can work with dad, they can work with mom. So what are the materials that would enable our children to enhance those 4 21st century skills? So for a more in-depth understanding of these 4 21st century skills and how to integrate it into your lesson plans, you may join our regular curriculum planning and development workshop dito sa Arrows and Quivers. We're gonna run that real soon, so abangan niyo po yan. thing you need to consider when choosing materials is whether or not the learning material reinforces character. Our children are not just all about academics. Their learning is not only focused on academics. It's not the only thing that they need to learn in life. Because a child is not just all brains. He is also heart, he is also spirit and soul. And so it's pointless if a child can solve major math problems or difficult math problems or read very intellectual texts but have no respect for others, is not kind, or is not patient, not loving to his siblings. Kahit magaling ang bata sa apat na 21st century skills na yan, kung wala yung ikalimang C, which is character, baliwala din lahat. So, we want children who are loving, we want children who can respect their elders, their authorities. We want children who value family. We want children who are kind and patient towards others, thoughtful and caring, compassionate. Diba? Lalo na sa panahong ito, I'm sure you have been discussing with your kids a lot of issues with regards to this crisis, and during the time of quarantine na to, marami kayong napag-usapan. You've probably been talking about a lot of things on how to help others and on how to develop compassion in the hearts of our children. So if you're going to choose materials at this time in homeschooling your children, make sure that they reinforce the values that you believe in as a family, and that it will support the kind of behavior that you want your child to exhibit in life, and that it will strengthen yung worldview ninyo, yung beliefs ninyo as a family. Because if a child does not have character, he just acquired knowledge. And knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. And we know that character is of prime importance for our children to learn. Okay, lastly, calculate the cost. So, eto na. Oh, pero free naman, di ba? All the resources right now are free. Yes, that's true. But there are other things that we could talk about when we are considering the cost. So, three things: time, money, and effort. So, when considering the cost of a material or a curriculum that you're getting in terms of time, you can ask yourself, how much is the preparation time if I use this material? Will my kid spend a lot of time engaging in this activity, and will it stimulate my child, or will he just get bored with this activity or with this online resource or with this class? Sometimes kasi yung akala natin na enjoy yung anak ng kumare natin, hindi pala mag-enjoy yung anak natin. So sometimes the things that other kids like may not be appropriate for our children. Okay? So if it is an online resource, how much screen time will be required of your child? Even though it's an academic pursuit, it's still important that we maintain our screen time rules so that we still uphold yung ating values when it comes to the balance of the use of gadgets, no, and the non-use of gadgets. When you consider the financial cost, you may want to think about whether or not you will still want to avail of this online resource after the quarantine. So, maaring ngayon, libre siya. We don't know if it will still be free after the quarantine period. So, if your child really enjoyed the material, kaya ba natin? Should you want to keep it as part of the regular routine of your child after the quarantine period? Will you still avail of it even if it's no longer free? Will it fit your budget, no? Kung ipagpapatuloy ng anak ninyo na gamitin tong online resource na ito. If the answer is yes, then good. Well and good, because then you have a supplement to the school activities or the school curriculum that you already have. In terms of effort naman, does the material require much effort for you to prepare? Okay? So, gaano ka tagal ang paghahandang gagawin mo para ma-execute yung isang lesson? How much study time on your part will it entail you? Is the material easy enough for you to understand and teach to your child? Will you be able to confidently teach it to your child? So or is it something na pwede yung panuorin, you watch it together and then you do it together side by side? Or do you need to pre-watch the material so that you could guide your child accordingly? If it's a class, for example, or if it's a material that would necessitate some discussion, would you want to view it first prior to letting your child read it or watch it, sorry, so that you have an idea how to facilitate your discussion with your child. So as you choose your materials during this quarantine period, and with the array of free resources online and with the many suggestions you're getting from your friends on social media, just remember the 5 C's we discussed today: curriculum, cultural context, the C's of the 21st century skills, character, and cost. I hope that was a good guide or guideline for you in choosing the materials for your children as you homeschool this time. So thank you for joining us today. I hope that today's episode is helpful for you. And if you have questions about homeschooling, feel free to comment below or to send us a message using the contact information that you see on your screens. If this video is helpful to you, why don't you like us and subscribe? Better yet, why don't you pass this video on to your friends? Remember, sharing is caring, di ba? So, share the knowledge to your friends, especially those na nangangailangan talaga ng assistance ngayon in their homeschooling. And tell them also to like us and subscribe. And we'll see you again in our next video. And I hope that you will continue to homeschool on, and you will find beauty in every day, especially in this quarantine period. Even if you're locked up at home, remember that there's still a lot of things that we could do together with our children. So see you again next time. Daghang salamat! Ayo-ayo!